Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the AI Math Guy. I hope everybody is doing well. Today, we have an amazing guest. Her name is Stacy, and she is just an awesome mover in the teaching field and a couple of things. And more than welcome to add to this, Stacy, after I introduce you. She is the founding member of the Human Intelligence Movement, which really focuses on AI's impact on learning while preserving humanness of our students. And she is also a author and a blogger. She is an AI fellowship developer for teachers and for her school district, and just a mover. And I also believe that you teach at a local community college as well. And so, just lots of cool things that you're working on, and a leader, what I would say, teacher leader in this space. And so we are super happy, and I am very privileged and honored to have you on the podcast. And do you want to add anything a little bit to what you do and what you're working on before we go into some
Sure,
of the questions?
sure. I do actually do some work at the local university at Notre Dame Dana University in Belmont, California, but most of my time is spent at a high school. I teach at Cappuccino High School in San Bruno, California for the most of my my work day, right?
Sure.
And then helping educators outside of school grapple with AI and play with AI and all of that. So, yeah, wearing a lot of different hats, but primarily in the high school space.
Sure. And I believe that you teach PE, correct?
I did for a long time. I
Okay.
actually transitioned this year to teaching a class for English learners and
Okay.
instructional coach and PD coordinator. But yeah, for many, many years I've taught PE and dance.
Perfect. So yeah, PE and dance, and transition this into a new role this year.
Yes.
Perfect. Well, tell us a little bit more about your new role and what you do. And I know you help other teachers adjust with AI and use AI. Tell us a little bit more about what you do right now for the high school level.
Yeah. So, I mean, when ChatGPT first came out and generative AI was first becoming a hot topic, I immediately was drawn to trying it out myself and I wanted to learn as much as I could. And after learning a whole bunch and experimenting, it's kind of like the next step is you got to share what you've learned, right? Like you've got to share all this knowledge you've gained. And so, after some time, I started leading workshops within my district. I started an AI fellowship program last school year. So teachers got paid for their time to learn about AI. We're doing a second round of that this year, right now, in collaboration with the Krause Center for Innovation in California as well. And so we've got like second iteration, we've changed it up. It's a little bit different formatting. We went from asynchronous to in person. And yeah, and I've been doing workshops just throughout the Bay Area for other school districts because I feel like we're kind of at this like second wave now that we're like 3 years into this. It's like a
Mhm.
whole nother wave of people getting on board, getting curious. We're not asking as many questions about how do we keep kids from cheating with AI. We're now like, how do we really leverage this as a teacher? How can we really embrace I guess is the feeling that I get when I go to schools now. So
Yeah.
it's been kind of a cool journey.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that there is a wave that happened. The first wave was, oh my gosh, everybody's cheating with it. How do we prevent kids from using it? And now there's more of a shift to how can we leverage it to do good things and create with it. So I know that you talked a little bit about the AI fellowship. Could you tell us a little bit more about what are its goals, purpose, and what is it trying to achieve?
Yeah, so I'm fortunate to be in a district that's very equity minded, and we have a whole framework around humanizing pedagogy. And so I tied everything in the fellowship program to this existing framework that we had that really kind of outlined like, what does it look like to have a humanizing classroom? How do you create equity in the classroom? And so everything we were doing with AI was helping us to achieve more of that. So, not just using AI for productivity or to save time necessarily, but how do we do things better? How do we rethink what we're doing in the classroom? Can we create a lesson, give it to AI and ask for perspectives that we're missing? How might this be viewed by a, XYZ student? How do we train AI on our values and the things that we care about to then remind us of those things when we're tired, burnt out,
Mm,
overwhelmed with the workload? Like all of those things that make the job really difficult, right? When you're just siloed by yourself and you're tired and there's so much to get done. Like how can we use AI to feel less alone, to do more of the things that we really want to do in the classroom, create more access points for our student, to have more differentiation, to create more speaking opportunities where students are collaborating? How do we switch to more project based projects? All of those questions, even rethinking like grading practices that might be harmful. Like all of that has been stuff that I'm really trying to put into our AI fellowship program, including like how AI works so that we have that understanding of its limitations and its capabilities, not so tool centric, right? I think a lot of
mm,
things tend to be tools, tools, tools. What are the tools? And people want that. Teachers are even saying, like, what are the tools I should be using? Give me the tools. But really slowing down and saying, okay, you only really need like these two or three tools. Here's what they do.
yeah.
And then let's dive in and use them really well for this specific purpose of creating
Mm,
more equity in the classroom.
yeah. No, thank you for sharing that. I think there's a lot of different ways to leverage AI to humanize pedagogy and to be able to bring about different perspectives. I think a thought that comes to mind is the new CSTPs that are coming out, and they are talking about helping students' identities being affirmed in the curriculum and the stuff that we
Hmm.
teach is something that's being pushed for and advocated for, which I truly appreciate. I think so often the curriculum that we go through as teachers may be a disconnect from what the reality of our students and their identities. And being able to affirm that in our pedagogy, I think is so important. And it's been really difficult without AI, right?
Yes.
Like there's a project that I worked on. It's called Asian Hate, and that was when during COVID there was an 1,800% increase in Asian hate in Orange County, and we were looking at just the different topics and graphs. It took me like 3 months and like 40 hours to create something like that. But it was like
Yes.
really, I like really affirming of students' identities and the realities that they were going through in math and in life. But took me so long. It's like
Yes.
not sustainable at all, right? But now being able to
Uh-huh.
leverage AI, you can use it to really humanize pedagogy. And so I'm really glad to hear that that's something that you're working through and you're
For
teaching.
sure. And you think about teachers that might be new to either teaching in general or having those conversations around how do you bring identity into the classroom or create more equity. Like a lot of the time those are just buzzwords, right? Equity, humanizing pedagogy. We say them so often that like what that actually looks like in practice doesn't always translate. So AI can help translate to really actionable things that you can do in your classroom to bring that to life, right?
Sure.
Because you might have your own sense of what you think an equitable teacher would do, but we still rely on how we were taught,
Mm,
our own personal experiences, our life experiences, and sometimes AI just gives us more possibilities to pull from.
absolutely. And I do want to hear your perspective on equity. And I think, like you were sharing, equity can be such a buzzword. And even for myself, I'm like, okay, I hear equity. And does that mean that everybody gets what everybody gets? There's a lot of nuance to that. So maybe could
Hmm.
you define how you see equity and what that actually means?
Oh, yeah, that is a tough one because it is so complex and nuanced. But I think just it boils down to being really intentional about creating many access points for students so that they all can be seen and heard and access the curriculum. So
Mm,
it is to a degree giving students what they need, but really pre-thinking all of that. It's not necessarily creating a separate lesson for every single kid that's in the room, but creating a lesson that is providing enough access points that students are all getting what they need.
mm.
And that
Yeah.
does take a huge amount of intentionality from a teacher to be able to like pre-think, what are my students going to need tomorrow?
Hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm thinking especially in math, there are certain activities that allow, we call them low floor and high ceiling activities, where it allows students who might struggle with math and might need special accommodations to be enter and
Hmm.
play. And also those students who have are exceeding can access and play too. And to be able to find activities like that, it takes a lot. I think a lot of people think it's like, oh, you just teach. No, no, no. It's like it actually takes a lot of intentionality and thought with that. So, in your opinion, with creating different access points, maybe would you share like an example that you've seen other teachers do or yourself do in order to create those access points and even leverage AI to amplify or even help you create activities that are more accessible for all different types of learners?
For sure. I feel like student agency comes up so often, another buzzword, right? Agency, but really preparing students to be decision makers and have control over their learning. So, using AI in ways that help us create choice boards
Mm,
or just multiple pathways for students to choose a level that they're going to work at or what types of things they're going to create or how they're going to intake the information. Are they going to read this article? Are they going to listen to a podcast? Like providing
mm,
options for students. And that's something that takes a lot of time and energy to do, but we know that that is something that is going to lead to student agency and provide all of those access points for students. So I think creating pathways and choice boards is like a great way to use AI to do more equity. Sentence frames and sentence stems and creating um, language supports, I think, is another one because a lot of our students need them. And those that don't are also going to benefit just from having that there. Just even if it's not like everyone has to use these sentence frames, but like having it as an example or a starting point, something they can lean on when they need it. They can still choose to not, but I think just having those language supports is super powerful for a lot of our students because you don't always need them thinking about all the things. You could take away just a few words and give it to them and still have them create the most meaningful response and get them
mm,
thinking about the content and not just how to say it.
mm,
So those are my two big ones that I think I see often
mm,
that are like good bang for your buck.
mm. Yeah, I love the idea of choice boards and giving students options on how to, well, not on how to, on the ways of consuming material, not always consumption, but also to be able to demonstrate the understanding. Like, for
Mhm.
example, one of the things that I like to do, and maybe I'm sure you know about this too, is like Notebook LM. It can produce an infographic, it can produce a video, it can create a podcast. And I should probably work on this a little bit more. And I even just creating a video for each overview of my lesson so that students can watch the video, can have an access point for those students who like an overview. And then I do have an infographic that allows the students to navigate the assignment. That so some students like infographics, some students like videos, some students like podcasts, and being able to access those assignments in that way. So is that kind of how you can, like, we would be able to use AI to create those access points, would you say?
That's definitely part of it. Yeah. That's a tool that's really blowing up right now. Like a lot of teachers are, as soon as they discover that, they're like, ding, ding, ding. Like, wow, I can make so many things. One thing I'm kind of stuck on though is like, we really want to shift at some point from the teacher having to create all of these things for the student to teaching the students how to create these things for themselves. That's
That's good.
student agency. That's what I'm really looking forward to,
Mm,
because we're still going to have teacher burnout. We're still going to have, the job of the teacher is going to still be very difficult if they are the sole person using AI to create all of this stuff for their
yeah,
students.
that is true.
But equity is also empowering our students to have that control and be able to leverage the tools themselves. So I do hope that more and more districts are starting to move towards unblocking tools for students and teaching them how to use them so
Mm,
that we can say, hey, kids, here's Notebook LM. Here's how I would use it to learn this content. Let me upload the syllabus, the sources, the readings, the videos, all the content, and then show them how they could create the overview, how they can have a chat, how they can, interact with the podcast and create their own, infographics from that. And actually, I mean, the infographics is like my least favorite part because
oh,
you don't
really?
learn from looking at an infographic.
Sure.
You learn from making one. If you're in Canva and you have to
That's
make one, or if you have to
true.
draw one on paper,
Oh,
that's when you
yeah.
really learn the
Sure.
content. So I'm like,
Mm,
oh my God, this AI generated infographic is so
mm.
useless.
Yeah, no.
but but it can be useful in certain things, right? Like, but just giving the students that choice, like, do you want to make an infographic or do you want to have a conversation with a chatbot and create something from that? Or letting them like brainstorm with AI to figure out like how can I demonstrate what I know based on, XYZ, these skills that I have or these things I enjoy.
Yeah. No, that's man, that's really good. Every time I get on these podcasts with amazing educators like yourself, I like learn. It's honestly like a personal PD masked
Right?
as a podcast, honestly. And
Yeah.
as you were sharing, I'm like, yes, that's so good. That's what I'm gonna do
Well, they say the
tomorrow.
teacher down the hall is like the best PD, right? Like just having these
No,
conversations, you always
honestly.
learn.
No, that's really good. See, I wish so I know Notebook LM right now is blocked for kids under 18. And the first question that our teachers were having as soon as they started playing around with Notebook LM was, can kids use this? And it was sad that the kids weren't able to use it. And at the same time, I think that I could see a world where we have Google Gemini as our like AI platform. So and eCadence called Scrappy as well. And so I can totally see students uploading my assignment and I can show the students my students have been taught or I show them how to upload specific problems, but to be able to upload the entire document and say, hey, help me to just get an overview of what this is about before I begin, I think could be a really good practice for students. And later down the line, when like videos are available and podcasts, they can create those for themselves. And like you said, it's teaching students how to use AI well, ethically. And I also want to hear more about student agency and at the same time I do have a couple more questions. Like for example, another question that I want to ask you is what is something that you really are thinking through right now that's really like a problem that you're trying to solve, trying to figure out in your mind and your brain about education. So we can go that route or we can talk about student agency, or maybe they're correlated. I'll give the choice to you. Access, right here.
Okay, I'd like to talk about student agency. So hit me with that. What do you wanna
Okay.
what do you
Okay.
wanna
Well,
talk
okay.
about?
So I have my own understanding of what student agency is, and maybe we can refine our definitions together. And so my belief and my understanding of student agency is the belief that they themselves can make a tangible change in the external world that they live in. And not only that they can do it, but not only that they can actually make a change, but they are the ones themselves who can do that change. So those are two parts of that definition that I think is
Mhm.
truly the most important skill that every kid needs to learn before they leave high school. And really, in my mind, if you get to have student agency, or if you can have agency, not just even student agency, just agency period as a human being, when you believe that, yes, there is something that I can do to change the thing and I can be the one to do it, then you will figure out. And now with AI, you can have more probability of achieving and changing that thing in the external world like never before. So really, agency is, I think, the core of what I want every kid to leave with in the classroom. And to cultivate that, and this is my last point, and to cultivate that, we start with zone of proximal development by Vygotsky, but going back to educational psychology, is as long as you keep the kid right there in the middle of when it's not too easy but not too hard, and you continue to help the kid and show them, hey, look, you weren't able to do it, but now you can. And continuing to build that confidence iteratively over and over and over again, then comes to a point where students can start tackling bigger problems out into the world. So that's how I believe. And through math, we could do that, right? And that's
Hmm.
really the reason why I'm teaching math, not just because math is school, which I think is math is school, but really the agency behind it. So that's kind of my perspective with the agency. Tell me more about yours.
Yeah, I think my it's funny because um when I was doing PE and technology, people were like, PE and technology are like two different things. Like, you're such a unicorn. How'd you end up liking those two things? But then I
Mm,
started realizing that the through line between all of that is agency, and that I was teaching PE, but I was really empowering students to have agency over their fitness. Like, I really
mm,
knew that they only had a short period of time with me. And then the rest of their entire life, they are in charge of making those decisions on their own. Like, that was just super forefront. Like, I had to make sure that by the time they were 15, when they don't need PE after their sophomore year, it's like they need to be decision makers and know how to do this without an adult saying, this. I don't want them to all have to go pay for a trainer. Like, they are their own
mm,
trainer. So I think that kind of carried over into the technology of like everyone that works with technology needs to have that same sense of empowerment so that they can be intentional with the tools that they use. So I'm talking about teachers and students and everyone in between. Like, they need that agency to leverage technology well.
mm,
And so yeah, I think they there was so much overlap there, and it's been enlightening to kind of come to that discovery. But
mm,
I see agency very similar to you, that it is that confidence to know that what you do makes a difference and to do something with that, to be a decision maker and like act on those decisions. And self-awareness is part of that. And it kind of is like the big north star of all the other human intelligence skills that we're trying to develop in our students, like creativity, leadership skills, empathy. All of that is like under the umbrella of being a good human being and developing agency.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think being able to see the underlying essential skill under the layer of what we would call technology or PE or math is the core skill of agency. And being able to see your discipline through the eyes of agency, I personally feel is very liberating. And the reason why is because you're not bound to, like, as long as you're teaching them agency through this thing, you've accomplished it, right? It's not for
Yes.
them to like learn X plus two, whatever, which is nice. But if they came out with agency at the end of that, I think that I did my job and I did it well. But if they learn X plus two, but have no agency at the end, is, what the heck, right?
I
So,
completely agree. And that's a huge mindset shift for teachers, because, especially high school teachers, because you're a single subject and you're like here to teach math, or you're here to teach English, you're here to teach PE. So sometimes we get caught up in that feeling of, I have to teach them this content. But we also have to give them life skills. We have to help them develop all of these skills, not just give them skills, but help them develop these skills on their own, and therefore developing agency. And so I think shifting that lens really helps us to see not only how AI fits into all of that, but then to just really kind of step back and see the bigger picture of what our job is as educators and what's most important. I think it allows us actually a lot of freedom to do things differently rather than feel like we're locked into following the curriculum day by day. Like if we have our own agency, we're going a little off script and we're giving our students more opportunities to build those skills because we value them. Do you think that's
Exactly.
true? Like, do you agree?
No, it brings me so much joy to hear this. Honestly, I feel so seen when you share that because that's what I do. It's going off script. It's being able to identify. It's not to hit 14 chapters of your book. Like it's important, but it's not as important as agency, right? So
Yes.
if it's helping your kids come to and yeah, and it really is a paradigm shift, I think, for a lot of teachers. And I think it's almost when I first started seeing this, I had to almost be given the permission to exercise my agency as a teacher to help students grow in their own agency. And it really, I think this is where like the superintendent conversation could come in is that it's really the leaders, at least for me, my personal perspective on this, to create the kind of environment where teacher agency is affirmed and promoted and encouraged. I only think this way is because I work at the school that I work at. I don't speak for them. I don't represent them or anything. I think legally, I don't know. I'm supposed to say that, but like it really, it's they have just been so crucial to my growth as an educator in the way that I think. And without this kind of environment, it would be very difficult to think of agency in the way that I do as a teacher. I've always been scared. I'm like, can I do this? And then I talk to my principal, who's Hilda, who's amazing. I would like come out to her. I was like, can I try this? She's like, yeah, of course. Like, that's what the school's about. We're like here to experiment, right? And so, yeah, it just brings me so much joy when I hear you just talking about going off the script and
You
you know.
know, I totally agree that teacher agency is where you have to start with this. And so leaders that are listening to this podcast should not just be thinking about how teachers can leverage AI to do more humanizing pedagogy. They should be thinking about how they can be leveraging AI right now to be creating more teacher agency so that that trickle down effect actually happens where the teachers feel empowered to rethink some of their practices or rethink their assessments or rethink how they're doing things so that it benefits students more.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I
time to
mean,
start playing with the tools and seeing how we can shift our thinking as leaders.
yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's really hard to teach agency if you yourself maybe have not are given the space to exercise it, right, as a teacher.
Absolutely.
So let me ask you this. What role do you feel like the district level has in order to create the kind of environment for teachers to have and cultivate this agency for themselves? What do you think that th- that looks like? That kind of environment?
Ooh, okay, so my AirPod fell out,
No, it's all
sorry.
good.
So all districts have room for growth, but I definitely feel like my district has shown me a lot of ways that are great. They have modeled a
Mm,
lot of ways to build in teacher agency. For example, in our professional development days, they've built in time for teachers to choose if they're going to go and meet with content alike colleagues across the district or if they want to go work alone for part of that day and get some things done or process the learning from the morning. They called it, oh, what did they call it? Watering holes, campfires, and caves. So you can go
oh,
to a
that's
watering
cool.
hole Go to a watering hole with your colleagues to just talk about whatever you need to talk about to unpack the morning learning. This was like an afternoon session.
Okay.
Or the campfires were sessions that they had facilitated that were not like scripted workshopy things, but
Mm.
more of like this group of teachers is going to talk about UDL. This group of teachers is going to talk about AI. Go wherever you want to go to talk about that topic. And then the caves were for people that just needed to go and like be alone. So that's one way to create a more humanizing experience for teachers, treat them like professionals, trust them to go wherever they need to go to process their learning. I mean, it seems like such a small thing, but like not everyone does that. Usually the day is packed, like agenda full throughout the day of whatever the topic is. Most people doing the same thing all together. Maybe there's choice sessions built in to that. But could you take it a step further? I feel like the campfires, watering holes, and caves took it to that next level. And by giving the teachers that freedom and that trust, that they gave us, they trusted us to just go do what we needed to do in the afternoon, that trickles down and teachers feel more confident doing that for students. Like the
Mm.
messaging that's kind of the unwritten messaging that kind of gets sent there builds our agency. So
Wow.
I feel like the more small things we can do like that to show teachers that they can make decisions and they are trusted, building trust is number one.
Wow. That's so good. That's so
Speechless.
good.
Trust. Who knew? Who knew? We could just build trust and solve a lot of problems.
Oh man, that is so good. I don't know why I feel emotional right now. To be honest, I really do. I don't
Because
know.
there's so little of this being done, right? Like it's in pockets where people have great relationships, they've built trust with their people, but it's not everywhere. And I think that does hit a nerve where you think about the times that you have been seen and heard and trusted as a professional and times you have not, and we have to pause and think about what that's done to us
Yeah,
over
no, for
time.
sure. Yeah. No, that's so good. I think just talking about, man, that is so incredible, right? To be able to just think about trust, right? Trusting your people. And I think when you were sharing about that underlying message, and I was like, why does what you just shared about the watering hole, like those three things, like why does that resonate with me so much? When I think about that, you really identified it and named it, which is that it is a communication from the leader saying, I trust you to be able to make the right decision for yourself and with what you need. Man, that is so
Yes.
powerful. And yeah, that's like, and you're right, it's so empowering, right? To be given that trust. And I had an opportunity to get on a podcast with Superintendent Matsuda. He was our former superintendent at AUHSD, Anaheim Union High School District. And he wrote a book with a guy named Michael Folan, and it's really, really smart guy. And he talks about spirit work. And the spirit work is this relational capital that you have with people. And it's this intangible, not systemized. I mean, there are definitely systems, but there is this relational capital that's moving, that is allowing people to trust one another in such a way that, like you were saying, like the teachers are able to do cool things and they're trusted and they can move forward as a school district. So, man, that's really powerful. And I think the superintendents listening to this and leaders just listening to this is such a great idea. Yeah, I don't know. I just want I feel like I need to sit with that for a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, thank you for that.
And
I
that
know
that
yeah.
word of trust, I feel like keeps coming up just in the AI and education space too, because it's the same between the teacher and the student of building that trust that they're going to use AI appropriately. And, we have to teach them how and model it and give them
Yeah.
language for all the things, which we have to give to teachers first. And then the teachers can do that with their students. But so much of it is going to come back to trust, right? Because we
Yeah.
talk about AI transparency statements. What is the point of that? to be building that trust and communication between teacher and student, right? Or
Yeah.
um, what are some other things people do? Like having the Leon Furz's chart of like AI use, like
Hmm.
no AI, some
Hmm.
AI, all,
Yeah.
just breaking those down. That is a way that teachers can communicate how AI should be used in the classroom, which
Yeah.
builds trust. Like the
Yeah.
whole purpose, all of it is coming down to trust is such a big
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Even for students, right? They want to feel trusted. And when we give them
Mm-hmm.
options, saying, "Hey, I trust you. You have that agency," it
Mm-hmm.
really is empowering. And so, wow, thank you so much for sharing that. And I know we're already 36 minutes in here. I do want to talk. I do want to maybe touch upon the human intelligence movement, and I know you are a founding member as well about that. Maybe we could talk a little bit about that, and then talk about just your thoughts on AI and education generally in the future, and then maybe we could close it out if that's okay.
Sure.
So
Yeah,
tell
yeah.
us some
So
more about that.
yeah, the human intelligence movement is a group of really cool people that got together and decided we wanted to be sharing about the importance of teaching human intelligence skills and developing those alongside our AI skills. So, as much as AI is kind of the main topic of a lot of conversations, we should equally be talking about how to develop ourselves alongside that. I mean, AI is like growing exponentially, right? Like every day there's so much. But if our human intelligence is only going up a little bit, we're only getting a little bit more creative, a little bit better at communicating, a little bit better at empathy, like all those things, then we're going to fall behind a little bit, but we can use AI a lot better and leverage it and not be using it wrong and all these things, or, irresponsibly, I guess I should say, if we're teaching those skills. So, yeah, problem solving, design thinking, leadership skills. I think I said communication, how to be caring. All of that is becoming so much more important when you can just give things to AI. What are the things that are uniquely you that only you can bring? People talk about using AI for hiring and things like that. Like when you're hiring someone or you're looking for a new teacher to come in, yes, you want a teacher who knows a little bit about AI and can leverage it, but you still want someone who has something unique that's theirs that they're going to bring. Are they empathetic? Are they caring? Do they, love kids? Like all of those things AI cannot replace. So developing those skills in our students and really naming it is kind of a priority of the human intelligence movement. So it's just a free nonprofit, I guess, just group of people that join. So you could go to humanintelligencemovement.org and sign up on the website and just kind of be part of the network. There are monthly networking events for people to just get on Zoom and meet other people and talk about this topic together. There are opportunities to write for the blog or to be a speaker and do other things as well. And they do host really awesome educational like webinars every so often. I think they strive for about monthly, but something along those lines. Every 6 weeks, there's something to learn, and so just being part of that network is an opportunity for leaders, especially, to dial in and connect with other people that are grappling with AI and human intelligence. It's just such a great community of not just educators, but people in educational technology are part of it, and it's just such a great resource to have that community with multiple perspectives.
Mm. That's awesome. It's like a community of people who want to amplify. Like maybe are you? Do you guys have the 5 C's or the 6 C's that you guys work like the collaboration, creativity, the critical thinking piece, or is
It
it
doesn't really come up too often
okay?
within what we're doing in
Okay.
human intelligence movement work,
Okay,
but
sure. Like
it's all
leadership.
connected.
Sure, sure. So like leadership, empathy, and it's called what was the website called one more time?
Humanintelligencemovement.org.
Okay, perfect. So anybody who's listening to this who might be interested, they can go to the website and check you guys out. That's awesome. And
Yeah.
yeah, to slowly close things off, what is your like as you were thinking about the future of education and how AI is transforming and just people are talking about AGI. I was reading from an AI framework from Sand Desert Unified High School District, I believe, and Mary Volmar, I think is. I'm not sure if I'm saying the last name correctly, but she was talking about AGI. AGI is coming,
Mm.
right? And then the CEO of Anthropic is talking about AGI, is talking about 50 million agents collaborating with one another, and each of them as smart as a Nobel Prize winner, right? And that's coming maybe like 2027. That's what he claims. So in that world, like, what is education? Like, what does student learning look like? How can we reimagine education in that world? And if it just goes back to agency again, I'm okay with that because I think it does. But what is your opinion on the future of
You
education? Let's say.
It's funny because everyone can have their own predictions and say, they think it's gonna be this or that, and it does not matter because the future is gonna be the future, and, some people are actually creating these tools and they're saying this is coming because they're actually building it, but yeah, predictions I take with a grain of salt, and I can't possibly keep up with all the things that are happening, so I try not to get caught up in that, like, rabbit
Mm,
hole of like predicting the future or trying to stay on top of tools too much.
mm,
But the one thing that grounds me and allows me to kind of like tune it out a little bit is knowing that no matter what technological change comes, we will still need human intelligence skills. We will still need to teach for those skills, and we will still be striving for student agency and building trust and empathy and all the things, creativity. We will still need human creativity, no matter how creative these tools get, right? So I try to stay focused on what I know to be true and persistent over time. And that helps me to not get lost in the weeds because it's so easy to just be like, AGI, agentic AI, super intelligence, all these things like doomsday is coming. But we know what we know, and we can look back at history. What has been the same over time, and what do our students really need from us? And let's focus on that.
so good. Thank you for grounding me too.
All
Because
right.
when you're talking about AGI, it's like, oh my god, AGI is gonna replace all my jobs, and it's not gonna. The rate at which it replaces job is gonna be too fast. There's a lot
So
of
ourselves, right? And be like, what do our students need? If that is coming, what do they need? And just pause and think about what we can do right now to prepare for what is coming. Not in like a scary, fear led way, but like really just thinking about that equity and like what do kids need? What do
yeah,
teachers need?
yeah,
Let's give them what they need to be ready for that, whether it comes in 2 years or it comes in 20 years.
yeah,
We are still going to be working towards growing their digital literacy, their digital well being, and all those other skills in between.
yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, no, thank you for just bringing it back to the humanness, right? That empathy, that connection, that leadership, creativity. Yeah, no matter how smart the AI is going to get, those are all things that seem universally true across time, regardless of how the circumstances change. So, thank you so much for sharing that. And as we close the podcast, what is your one word of encouragement and hope for all the listeners out there, and maybe especially for superintendents who may be listening to this? What is your word of hope and encouragement for all those listeners?
Ooh, ooh. Okay, I'm gonna add a verb before my word. Prioritize humanity. That's really deep.
Yeah.
But I think if we always focus on our people, that helps us to not get lost in the technology conversations.
Mm,
People first.
people first. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Stacy, for this is such a fruitful and energizing conversation. Personally, for me, I really appreciate your time and appreciate your perspective just on education and pedagogy. And thank you for the work that you're doing to,
Awesome.
yeah, for,
Thanks for having me. It was so fun, Jay.
no, absolutely. Okay. Well, thank you for listening, everyone. I hope you guys all have a great rest of your day. And that's another wrap on the AI Math Guy podcast. Bye, guys. All right.